Episode of the Everblack Podcast is brought to you by Death Wish Hot Rods and Customs. Check out their Instagram for all their new t-shirts, caps, beanies, cups, and the all-new Atomic Death lineup. So, how are you guys this evening, of course?
Triggering question.
Yeah,
it's more like we're making do, and you just have to sort of roll with the punches, I guess, and put yourself into your art, which is what we're doing, rather than your everyday, because every day is exactly the same.
It's like the 9 Inch Nails song.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, boys, it is awesome to have you on the show. Of course, your band NESHER has been making waves with the single I can't even talk properly tonight. Preservation of Privilege, if that's right, as that's how I've said it correctly tonight.
Yep, that was our first single, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a struggler tonight. And you're about to drop the new one, Fabulist Colonist. Is that how it's pronounced?
Correct.
Yep. Oh, mate, not bad for a Tuesday night. And, and I love how savage and raw these tracks are. And, you know, the video for Fabulist is incredibly confronting and very real. And I guess that's what makes it important, and the message behind it as well, right?
Well, of course. I think it's I'm not trying to downplay what happens in the world at the moment, because we all have our own gripes, we all have our own dramas and dilemmas that we have to get through and survive. But I think it's very important that what has happened to our environment and the causes that have led to that, it's not a climate change, it's a climate crisis. And it's something that we shouldn't be forgetting anytime soon. So when it does come the time to make your votes count, I really insist people remember that anger that they had and that frustration, and target it at the people that were the cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's such an intense time in this country right now, you know, with you know, your lockdowns and protests, and politically things seem to be really shaken up, you know, with the resignations, and it feels like things are really coming to a head. And is that something?
Yeah. Mud sticks. So
yes.
I'm not surprised that it's a flushing out of the old. And I just hope that we can continue on a course where we actually see some change, rather than this short-term gluttony that we have in this country of people that insist they're about the future, but they're just eating their own children like every time.
Mm-hmm.
And metal is like a great kind of music for this time in a way, you know, and I guess like I'm gonna non-specifically throw shade at some of the rest of the scene. Like, I think for a few years it's been frustrating to see, like, I suppose some of the lyrics of a lot of great bands and the focus sort of being entirely on the self, right? And I think metal is just such a incredible art form for connecting with the suffering of the world, and there's so much of that going on. I think one of the things that we've all quite bonded over, even though we're doing this project remotely and in this really you know, disjointed way through lockdown, is I think that desire to try and channel that in a way that shines a light and brings it out into the open a bit, I suppose, rather than just talking about ourselves lyrically, or just making it about the struggle that we're going through, you know, as individuals. Like Sam says, that matters for everyone, but I think we wanted to try and do something a bit different.
Absolutely. Is that what brought you guys together? Was that common cause? Like, how did you guys, you know, put together this band?
We've started off with some pretty bleak outcomes here, but let's get this straight. The reason that we're in a band together is because it is our love of death metal, particularly the OG stuff. And the riffs were the bonding force, but the themes that go over the top lyrically, at least, are more poignant and in the present. So we definitely love doing what we're doing, and we all respect each other as musicians. So it's a very positive creative force, even if the message is quite angry and full of frustration.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've like my gig before this was or it still is playing in Sleepmakeswaves, which has lots of beautiful, pretty, heartfelt stuff. And my whole life I've just loved fucked up, angry riffs, and I never really had like a good outlet for them. And I started writing a few, and I really liked where they were going. And so I got my mate Alistair on board to do the drums. And because he's just like always chatting to people and doing a lot of stuff in the industry, the demos along to Sam, and I guess, you know, we've just kind of made it happen from there, you know. And really, I think he's right. It's just been that bonding over, you know, just the musical connection. I remember when, you know, working remotely is not something I've done a lot before musically, maybe not for Sam either, but just like the moment when I got the first recording of his vocals on the stuff I wrote, and just putting that on and just being like, shit, this rules, you know. And so I think that's been the feeling that we've been chasing, and what's kind of made it work across the thousands of Ks separating us.
100%. Like, you're both phenomenal at what you do.
Oh,
and
thank you. Thank you
you know,
much.
much respect, man. Like, hey, man, we're even saying like a good look. It's right here. Well, it's on the there. It is right there. It's in red, but you can't really see it. But there you go. But you know, did you guys jam together previously in other projects or tour together, or how did you guys know each other?
Well, to be honest, I've known of Sleepmakeswaves for years, but apart from maybe appearing on festivals in like different stages or whatever, I've never run into the boys on a personal level. And it was more just, I know that the technical prowess of the band, and it was more when I received those demos and heard the potential for there to be some big, chaotic but extremely catchy choruses that can be lumped into a genre that's often a little bit too technical for its own good. So I was more impressed with the workload that was going to have the potential to work with than anything else on like a personal level. And I was just nice that when I did meet the boys, that they're not dickheads.
That's always an important thing, right?
I was like, what a bonus. Oh, this is going to be a walk in the park.
That's what I'm looking for on my gravestone, not a dickhead, you know. Like, that's, you know, I'm on the way, fellas. Yeah, totally. I think Sam nailed it. I do have a memory of playing support with Low for Russian Circles and Eagle Twin somewhere in Adelaide some years ago. But I mean, yeah, the music scene's a big place. I definitely knew, you know, about Sam and the stuff that he's done. But yeah, I just view it as one of those really nice, fortuitous things that it just happened because of the music. And I think, you know, being in a band is often a really a real pain in the ass a lot of the times to actually get the music out there and get it all done. So I think if you've actually got that connection around just enjoying the end product, then hopefully that bodes quite well for the future, that we like just keep on enjoying making this stuff and getting it out there.
Absolutely, because it is difficult. You know, I can say I'm in 2 bands. You're in 3. You're in a couple as well. You're in 2, 3, Alex?
Oh yeah. How many are you in?
Actually, no, you're right. There is my sort. I'm also in this kind of like on and again, off again, pavement-ish indie band called Steve. But yeah, like, you know, everyone's got irons in the fire, don't they? You know, yeah, for sure.
Everyone gets around.
Yeah. You just want to strike while the iron's hot. So if you're still feeling that you're creative and you're passionate about it, then why not?
That's right. I'm for it. I
like to be able to paint with different colors as well. So I'm a different character, I guess, in the 3 bands that I am in. So, and that allows me to to, I guess, exercise those demons that I've got in me in the right kind of way.
And, that was one of my questions, talking about painting and different characters.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork for this stuff is incredible too. Is that you? Because I know you're a budding artist. No.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's a guy that I've admired from afar on Instagram, an Indonesian artist, and he has done a few extreme metal projects, cover arts and promo material. He's a wonderful artist. I'll see if we can give you the link or whatever at the end of this and get him some more traction.
Yeah, we'll
but he's kind of, the easiest way to describe him is he portrays the human form in this residue of what it is and the horror of what it is. It doesn't need to look photogenically real, but it is a face. It's a harrowing presence, and it reminds me a lot of Francis Bacon. So he has a very visceral view of the human face, and I really love that because I like this idea of it not having to be the stock standard photoshopped grim person with an axe in the back of their head just to make you feel that it is death metal. Death metal can be so many facets of an aesthetic, and I really love the color schemes he's used, and I feel we'll run with that for at least this first release.
I think there's something much more darker and sinister in that stuff than, as you mentioned, like the axe or the typical brutal death metal, t-shirt or cover. It's definitely captivating. But of course, I mean, talking about, you said the characters before, the different 3 different versions. How would you describe this version of you?
This is my undeniably into the over-the-topness of death metal in the vocals, but I don't want to ever lose the clarity of it, and because then you lose the message, and that's what I want to put a lot of effort into. I do a lot of research for the lyrics and to make it present and poignant. And it's the most, I want to really make it as catchy and being as genuine as possible for a genre, like I said, that gets bogged down in a bit too much of its own skill level sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be professional about it, but I want it to resonate with people. I want it to have a groove. If people aren't banging their heads to it, then I might as well just stay in my room and write in my diary.
Well, I mean, it does sound incredibly catchy and nasty too.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh yeah. The aggression's always got to be there,
Mate.
but as long as people can sink their teeth into it, I'm always happy with that.
Did you record it all, Alex, in your studio?
Yeah, we went to a place called Everland to do the drums with a guy called Ben Warzy, and that was a really good experience. But yeah, just do it at home. I've got a nice setup where I can like use tube amps with a load box, and so I get like a sort of nice, not entirely digital, chaotic sound going, and sort of still take the time to sort of get it right at home. And I'm sort of like, I'm not a guitar god by like any stretch of the imagination. No, but I mean,
come on, mate.
But I can't do this sort of like, like all of that sort of stuff. So and I do like texture and I like experimenting. So it is really nice to have a setup that I can just kind of faff around with and come up with some interesting, weird textures. I suppose the things I really wanted to try and achieve is I wanted to have it sound really nasty and dirty and ugly. And I guess like I love straight up death metal, and I don't want to overcomplicate things with too many different notes, but I am also a huge nerd for stuff like noisy post-punk from the late 70s and early 80s, and weird psychedelic progressive rock from like the late 60s and stuff like that. So I'm always trying to think about what's a weird note I can put in, how can I make this thing clash, but still have it rule. Like all of those kind of things. And so just figuring out those little touches. I'm often thinking like queasiness and unease, as well as sort of like brutality. How can I make a riff really slam, but also have the texture get under your skin, you know, and make you feel like something's seriously wrong. If I can do that, that's great. And on that note, my bandmate Otto, on the outro of this song, Fabulist Colonists, he heard the riff and he said like, that sounds like a guy getting his head plunged into a toilet, pulled out again, then getting plunged back into the toilet. And I thought, all right, good job. Well done.
I mean, in saying, saying it does sound nasty. It's easy these days with, I guess, all the digital stuff to make stuff sound really pretty and clean. But going back the other way and making it sound really nasty and gritty and distorted without losing that clarity is kind of difficult to do. You know what I mean? So, that's really well done. I mean, what was the trick there? What was the...
I'm not exactly sure. I think it's probably just because I like that kind of stuff. And so that's what I aim to do. I think a lot of these things come down to, I suppose, personal taste and sort of, I guess, the kind of things that people were raised on listening to and the kind of bands they like. I suppose, like, maybe the way I'd characterize it is I worship at the ground of Meshuggah, and I loved the gent thing when it started out, but the way it's developed, I think I have lost interest in that a fair bit, and hearing the same sampled snare drums and kind of simulated guitars, I did lose interest for it. And so I guess my way was rediscovering records like Wolverine Blues by Entombed and early Morbid Angel and things. Also Cro-Mags, like New York hardcore was a huge influence on me when I was starting this. And I suppose it's just immersion in that and just hearing that sound. It just ends up being the world that you're in. And I think that's what ends up doing it. I think if I was to say a couple of things is I think, trying to use tubes and trying not to fuck with the drums too much. I think that's the other thing, trying to just hold on to as much performance as you can. Just trying to hold on to the humanity and not kind of buff that out of existence in the pursuit of perfection.
It gives it a vitalness for sure, Alex. Like, it gives that venom to it, that visceralness that you want to be able to emulate live. And I even though we're not playing live at the moment because of our viral situation that we've got going, it doesn't mean that we don't want to be able to translate everything with that power still live, because you want to have that big cacophony and that claustrophobicness and that uneasiness that he's talking about. Squashed onto a live audience. Like, that's what I live for, is to be able to play live. So hopefully we can get the hell out of our boxes and get back on the stage.
Have you guys got a full EP on the way? Like, where are you guys at with more material for this?
So later this month, Alistair and I will go back into the same place, and we're going to do drums on we're aiming for about 6 songs. So that'll be a bigger bite of the cherry for sure. Like, it'll be stuff roughly in the same world, but a few different spins on the kind of sound that we've done with these 2 tracks. And sorry, hold on a sec. So we'll do that. And then do the guitars, shoot them down to Sam, and he'll do his magic. You take over, Sam. I got something in my throat.
I was going to say, I was like,
you're honest.
This little super spreader. What's his address? It's like the tubes from ET, like, start coming into the house. He was never here.
There's a dead plant in the background.
Yeah.
But so we will So I think like hopefully that'll be something that will drop like early next year, and then with that, plus the 2 songs we've done, that's also like enough to do a live set as well. So I think that's sort of something on the cards for next year. Like it's kind of hard to know exactly what's going to happen with that, and I think like a lot of the viability of Australian touring will probably depend a lot on where the state borders end up. But presuming that, I imagine that'll all be fine at some point, and then I'm imagining it's just going to kind of explode, to be honest. Like if what we've seen in other countries is anything to go by, people are just going to kind of go low-key apeshit. And so I think it'll kind of be, I think, an interesting moment to sort of see where everyone slots in and how they navigate it. But yeah, we'd be keen to be part of that for sure. Yeah.
Hey, I'd love to see it live, that's for sure. I mean, that would be incredible. I mean, I've seen both you guys play with, you know, other projects. You know, I've seen Sleepmakeswaves and, of course, Low, Hadal Maw, you know, and to see you guys on stage together, we fucking amazing.
Thanks. I just would really like to get the hell out of limbo and get back to it. But I think it's, we were talking about it last year a bit more when there was a little glimpse of hope that things were returning to some normality. It's the time to shine for bands in Australia, because often it's us as the piece of parsley to the main meal of an international that comes out. And now all the focus is internal. So it makes people be forced to be patriotic as well as just, you know, when they buy a CD or buy a vinyl, to actually come to the show, because they've gone so long without any sort of experience beyond, I don't know, getting an espresso martini and a keeper cup and hoping for the best. It'll be nice to have fans present and hungry at these shows.
And you know what? I'm seeing a lot. I don't know if you guys have been seeing it, but I've been seeing a growth behind the scenes here with a lot of doom desert metal rock on one side and some really nasty death metal on the other. Like it's gonna happen. And I think as soon as you're right, people are gonna go absolutely ape shit. And I think they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be really charging, you know. The moment.
It's funny because that's two sides of the coin of how some people cope with bad news. You got your ultra stoners that go, oh, well, and then bong on and get into a 10-minute riff. And then you've got your politically charged death metal bands and black metal bands that's just like, no, it is the man that should get fucked. Like,
it's
just,
you're right.
It's both extreme energies, but on the bottom of each scale.
It is true. It is true. But man,
Fabulist or rip cones.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm seeing a lot of both of that stuff. So I think, I mean, some of those albums, I mean, I can't wait to hear what you guys have got cooking up. You know, we've had other bands like, of course, like the Amenta dropped a really good one. Another band, Growth. Heard of those? Really great dudes. Man, like there's just a lot of really cool stuff that's bubbling up, and you know, I really think that it's going to be really strong, and I hope you guys get to hit the road, especially come up here to Queensland. You know, that would be awesome.
Some of my favorite heavy, like extreme bands are from Brisbane, and there's something in the water up there because everything that comes out of the boys from Descent, Resin Tomb, Snorlax. It's all flawless. Like the whole concepts are so fantastic. So I'm thinking I've done enough stuck inside my booth down here and grim winters over the last couple of years. I really think I might just relocate up to the Valley in Brisbane and just hang out with those guys, because it's just a lovely little cooking pot of talent for the Australian scene.
And I'm just down the road, dude. I'm just down the Gold.
There we go.
See? Both you guys come up here. We have a few cold ones and do the death metal thing in some
glorious. Absolutely glorious.
It's a funny thing about it. It's all sun and, the tourism, and then we got this death metal.
Yeah.
Part about it. So, I mean, of course, what else have you guys got cooking up in the background other than NESHER?
As in personally, or
In other projects?
right? Yeah. Well, Hadal Maw we've finished our recordings. We've had our test presses arrive back from Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all on the way. So keep your ears to the ground. There'll be something coming out very soon.
That's awesome. What about you, man?
Yeah, and we are finishing writing the Sleepmakeswaves record. We're pretty close now, and I think now it's just kind of figuring out, how to get into a studio post-COVID and make the damn thing. So I think we're pretty close to the beginning of recording, which is really cool. And just a very nice thing to do. I think, Sam would probably say the same thing. I think one of the things that has kind of like been very nice as a musician during this whole COVID time is already having an established band where, you can actually release music in a pandemic and people will listen to it. I think it would be really hard. Like, I really feel for the kids that are like, I don't know, 19 or 20 or something like that. And it's like, how are you supposed to get your music out there? It's a tough situation. You got like the social media thing, which is kind of, live music just seems way more difficult than I remember when I was like that age. So yeah, grateful. And I also hope that it works out for some of the youngsters as well.
I feel like we were talking about this last time me and you were in the same room together, and it was that thing of, it would be very hard for a young band in Australia to cut their teeth at the moment, because so much is gained through experience of playing live and your trials and errors, and you're being in the jam room together and working out where you stand and what you're about, and is everyone on the same page. The evolution of a lot of young bands, it's kind of been chopped off at the knees. Like, it's going to take a little while for this stuff to come back. And also, as we've seen with the risk that venues take, for them to be able to be cut down to a quarter of their capacity or less, and then be expected to have the punters turn up, like that's going to be a tall order if you're a band that maybe has never played live before or doesn't have a fan base yet. How are you going to grow that organically, but also be in the good books with those venues? Like, this stuff's it's halted things for a little while, I feel. And we're very lucky that if you do have bands that have an establishment, that have the connections, then it's going to be a bit easier. So hopefully the new bloods don't get too distraught with how it is. And I'm sure that the anger of what's wrong in the world is going to at least fuel them in a writing progression to get that stuff out there eventually.
100%. And we need to, bring those dudes up as well and do that.
Need to foster them, need to support your own shit.
Yeah. Bring them up. That's for sure. Well, dudes, it's been awesome hanging with you tonight. Hey, thank you for your patience as well, because I know it took me by surprise, the whole, what do you call it, the daylight savings. And I was like, oh, no. So, but I appreciate you rescheduling to tonight. And, of course, we will have the links down here with all the singles that are available now. Is there merch? We've got some merch as well.
We'll have some merch on the way. Yeah. So keep your eyes posted for that.
Awesome. I'll have to grab some of that too. And swing me the link for that artist too, man. I'll put that down.
Please. Yeah. Amazing. Right. Thanks so much for your time, man.
That's all right, boys. Oi, stay safe.
Yeah, just wanted to say, really appreciate you putting in the effort too, and giving up your time and your platform to give our little death metal band a bit of space. So cheers, man. Really appreciate it.